Good afternoon and welcome. This is Rappler Talk. I'm Camila Lamia. Today we will be speaking with the newly elected senator from Valenzuela, newly elected Senator-elect Sherwin Gatchalian. Good afternoon,
Good
sir.
afternoon, Camille, and thank you for inviting me to your nice and new office. Thank you.
Let's now go back to the recent campaign that you launched,
Right,
which
right.
ended up with your victory. How did you win that elections, considering that most of your time in politics you came from the local scene?
Yes. I came from the local government, and when we were planning for this activity for the national campaign, we really have to determine where we are in terms of awareness and in terms of ranking, and we have to determine what we need, no, in order to boost our awareness. The first strategy really is to boost your awareness. And coming from the local government, it's not easy, no, because we don't get the exposure all the time. Exposure for us is just very minimal. So then we determined what medium do we need to reach out to the voters and to our constituents. And that's why we had to choose which medium will be the best for us and the most effective, and then determine the budget. I think that in any of those medium, it will require a lot of budget. And I think efficiency is a very important aspect in terms of choosing which medium you want to use. So after determining the budget, no, and preparing for that budget, we also need to determine what type of message do we want to echo, no, and to broadcast to our constituents. It's easy to come up with a commercial. It's easy to come up with a creative commercial, but does it have the right message? And does it have the right message to convince people to vote for you? No? Because sometimes they get the message, but it's not relevant for them. Hence, they don't vote for you. So these were the activities that we went through.
We noticed as early as June 2015, even before the presidential candidates declared, you already released your political ads. How did these political ads help your campaign?
Yes, we decided to release a little bit earlier because our awareness is very low, and we thought that in order to boost an awareness, and we want sana that upon filing of the certificate of candidacy, I will reach a certain awareness that will make me a viable candidate. Because psychologically, these are the milestones that we want to hurdle, no, and make ourselves a viable candidate. The first one was filing. The second one was end of the year. So sana pagpasok namin in the new year, maganda na yung awareness namin. And then the next is the start of the campaign, which is February. So these were the three milestones that we wanted to hurdle and improve all the time. So, and when we were planning, sabi namin that we need to start a little bit earlier than the other candidates because we're not a national personality. So we want to invest in building that brand.
You said you started earlier. How early is this?
I think we started, the filing is October. I think we started airing our commercial as early as July. No? And, but there are intervals, no, because we want to capture those milestones.
But when did you start planning to run for Senate?
Matagal, Camille. We started planning as early as 2012. No?
Oh.
And in fact, I was actually thinking of running in 2013, no, for that midterm run. But when we were calculating our budget, we didn't have enough budget. No? And we said we need to prepare early because if you don't have that budget, then you need longer time. So that's why we decided to postpone the run last 2013 and then just run on 2016.
What key message do you think worked for you?
I think in my case, we decided to stick with one message, which is education. But education, Camille, is multi-dimensional. People think that education, education, lahat alam ng tao yan. But we showed the different dimensions of education, why people, why kids are not in school, and why a lot of the older generation are not in school, and why do you need education, and what projects in Valenzuela related to education we have already accomplished. So these are the different dimensions that we put together in order to rationalize that education is very important to the country.
When you earlier said that you had to think of the proper messaging in each of the medium. And what kind of messaging did you use for social media and for radio?
I think in TV kasi it's very limited. You have 30 seconds to say your message. So it has to be concise and it has to be creative enough to get that attention. But at the same time, we also partnered it with the different mediums such as social media, print, and radio. I think radio has the second widest reach, no? Because it goes all the way to the different municipalities. Even some of the municipalities, they don't have cable TV, but they have radios there. So the second medium that we had to develop was radio. Social media is much more robust in terms of messaging because you can put anything you want, but the reach is very small. So we have to partner that. We also have to come up with parang what do we say on TV, what do we say on radio, as opposed to what do we say on social media.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that everything is complemented and synchronized.
You were endorsed by the block voting Iglesia ni Cristo. How did you get their vote?
I have a long history with the Iglesia ni Cristo. I've been in public service for 15 years, and I've run 5 elections already. In all of those 5 elections, I was carried by the Iglesia ni Cristo. I think, Camilo, what's very important here is our partnership in Valenzuela with INC. We have several projects together there. For example, disaster preparedness. INC has this very active group, yung SCAN. I don't know if you've heard about it. SCAN, and that's their disaster preparedness arm. So in Valenzuela, we work together with SCAN and INC to train their volunteers, and during calamities or typhoon, they're also part of our volunteer system when we need extra help.
Do you think there will be an issue in relation to your independence, because we all know that INC is facing allegations now?
Actually, Camille, in my 15 years of history in Valenzuela, they've never encountered I've never encountered anyone from INC asking for favors in Valenzuela. It's mostly for community projects, but yung mga special favors, or let's say any conflict of interest, I've never encountered that. And I think that's very, INC is very strict with that. They will endorse you, but they're also very strict that they won't abuse that endorsement. And I think I've been following the case of INC with the DOJ. I think independently they're defending themselves. So I've never encountered any problems in terms of conflict of interest with the Iglesia.
What will be your legislative agenda in the Senate?
Okay, I have 3, Camille. Number 1 is education. Right now we're in the crossroads. The country is implementing K-12, and this will be the first time that the country will be implementing K-12. And there are some cities or some areas that are K-12 ready, like in Valenzuela, we're K-12 ready, but not all municipalities are like that. So we have to make sure that the 100+ billion given to DepEd is spent wisely and implemented wisely. I think I'll be focusing on education, number 1. Number 2, I like to focus on small and medium enterprises because Valenzuela is home to a lot of small and medium enterprises. And I always believe that one of the growth engines of our country are the small and medium enterprises. Number 3 is local government, because I've been with the local government for a long time. So I want to focus also on empowering our local governments and making sure that they're effective on the ground level.
We have a question from Twitter from Wilson Lee Flores. I'm sure you know him. He's asking you, how do you plan to promote more free college education through scholarships?
Okay, my concept is different. My concept is eliminating and abolishing tuition fees in state universities and colleges. In our computation, we will need 15 billion pesos, at least 15 billion pesos for that program. In many countries, Latin America, Europe, they've already abolished their tuition fees because higher education now is becoming a need rather than an option for many countries. The world is getting smaller and competitive, so we need to make sure that our workforce has the best education and the best training to prepare them to get better jobs.
You mentioned there will be scrapping of tuition fees in SUC, state universities and colleges, but it is doable. Is it doable?
It's doable. If 15 billion is not big, no? If you look at the other anomalies, no? Like the PDAF or DAP, no? 15 billion is a small amount compared to 200 billion PDAF funds. So it's not very big, and all we need is really to make sure that that 50 billion goes to the students and to our state universities. And this 15 billion will go a long way. Just imagine, right now we have 1.5 million students studying in our state university. If we manage to enable them to graduate, all of them, we will have 1.5 million highly educated graduates in our universities that will enter the workforce.
Mr. Senator, the Ombudsman recently filed charges against you over the questionable acquisition of the local water utility administration of the thrift bank that was owned by the Gatchalians.
Well, Camille, I've mentioned this many times. I'm actually quite surprised. No? I was part of this case. They included me in this case because of the 2,500 pesos value of my shares. I have 14 shares in that company. That shares was assigned to me long before my public service stint. And the value of those 14 shares is only 2,500 pesos. So I couldn't understand why I was included in the case. I don't have board participation, I don't have management participation, nor I was part of the negotiating process of this acquisition. So, nevertheless, nandiyan na yan. So, I'm going to face this personally, and I believe that at the end the truth will come out.
But you're a member of the board?
No, I'm not member of the board. I only have 14 shares in the company.
So why do you think this came out now?
It's very hard to speculate, Camille. I think bottom line is I will just face this in the courts, and if your conscience is clear, you can face the courts head on. So I'm very confident at the end we will succeed.
So there's no need to fear for any corruption allegations or any other charges against you in relation to this?
Actually, Camila, good thing you asked me that. No? In my 15-year stint in Valenzuela, I was never accused of corruption or any anomalies. In fact, there was no case against me, corruption case against me in the Ombudsman, DILG, or even Office of the President. The Valenzuelanos know that, and I think we have demonstrated effective and honest governance in Valenzuela.
Barely 2 weeks after the elections, your party, the Nationalist People's Coalition, immediately allied with the PDP Laban of President-elect Rodrigo Duterte. But during the campaign, you supported Grace Poe.
Right.
Did you talk to Poe first? Did the NPC talk to Poe first before?
Senator Grace was gracious enough to concede, I think 2 or 3 hours after the election. So, and I think she also broadcast that she will support, and be and cooperate with the new administration. With that, I think everything follows. NPC signed a partnership with PDP Laban. This is a working partnership and to support the legislation of the new administration. Of course, Camille, pagtapos ng election, we want to help out each other. Tapos ng election, and we have to move forward. And we believe that cooperating and supporting the new administration is the right thing to do, in order for our country to move forward.
So there's nothing wrong with suddenly jumping ship from...
Actually, we didn't jump ship. This is a coalition. We live in a country where the system is multi-party, and the parties can coalesce with any party. It's not only NPC who coalesced with PDP Laban. There's NUP, there's NP, there's Lakas. I think part of LP is also coalescing with them. So that's natural. Again, our system allows multi-party coalitions.
What can you say about the recent statements of President-elect Rodrigo Duterte on media killings? Because at this point, it's very controversial.
It's very controversial. I think what we should really focus on is first stop all of these media killings, and the media has been a partner of the public in terms of fiscalizing and making sure that public interest is put in front of personal interest. I think media been effectively has been an effective partner of the government in terms of watching over government funds and preventing corruption. But nakalungkot, because a lot of the media killings remain unsolved. So I think we should put focus on that, and we should put focus and dig deeper on why these things happen in our country.
Is there a need for Duterte to apologize for what he said?
I think what we should do is really dig deeper. No? I think the reason is not only corruption or not only accusation and not only fiscalizing, kung bakit ba talaga nangyari yan. And hindi lang naman to first time. No? This has been happening for quite some time already in our country. So I think what we should do is have an honest-to-goodness dialogue with the members of the media and the members of the government and find out bakit nangyari to and how do we prevent this. I'm not saying it's corruption. I'm not saying it's fiscalizing, but definitely there's a problem within the media industry and also government.
What do you think of the promise of Duterte that he will suppress crime in just 3 to 6 months?
I think, Camille, off top, from what I've heard from the president, bringing back the morale of the police is actually a very good strategy. The policemen, they earn less than 20,000 a month. The PO1s earn that less than 20,000 a month, and they have families to feed, they have children to put to school. So talagang kulang, yung kanilang income. And I think by improving the income, you also improve the morale. And now you can demand more from our policemen. So I think that's a good move. And of course, for me, I still say that 6 months is a tall order. I've been a mayor for 9 years, and it's not easy to stop crime in 6 months. But I think you can see the difference already in 6 months' time.
Some are fearing that this might result to extrajudicial killings. What can you say
Well,
about
that cannot be compromised, Camille. I think we have to suppressing crime or eliminating crime for this matter should be within the bounds of the law. Hindi pwedeng i-shortcut yan. Hindi pwedeng ituro lang and then patay na kaagad yung tao. We have to make sure that due process, practice, and we have to make sure that there's no shortcuts in terms of crime fighting.
With all these allegations against Duterte, do you think it's right to, or how do I say this? Do you think there is reason to fear a Duterte presidency?
It's too early to say that. I think President Digong has been very transparent during the last campaign. I think we've seen everything from him in the last campaign. I think we've heard everything from him. We've seen everything from him. His life is almost an open book. His strategies in Davao, everyone knows that. I lived in Davao for 2 years, and it's an open book. How they operate in Davao. So I think that was broadcast to everyone, and despite that, he got 16 million plus votes. So that means the population approves of his strategy and his style of governance.
We have another question here from Twitter. Do you expect or do you anticipate rough times with the executive under a Duterte presidency?
That's an interesting question. Definitely this president is different. Iba siya.
In what way?
Different in many ways. Governance and also policies. I wouldn't say rough, but I would say it will be quite of a work. It's not going to be, I think, for me personally, Camille, it's not going to be business as usual because there'll be a lot of discussions, debates about certain policies and certain legislations, as well as certain actions. For example, the death penalty will be quite a discussion in the Senate and in Congress. Of course, in 3 to 6 months crime fighting, hindi pa natin alam yung detalye. So, assuming there'll be some issues in that strategy, then that will be a discussion also. So, bottom line is we're dealing with a different president, and that's what people wanted: change, and not business as usual. And that's why we have President Digong.
You mentioned the death penalty. Are you in favor of it?
During the campaign, I mentioned that I'm in favor of death penalty for big-time drug syndicates and big-time drug lords. Because in my experience again, and from what I read in the news, no, all of these big-time drug syndicates, they still do business inside the prison. No? So, ano pa rin sila? They're still thriving, making money, and these are convicted criminals already doing business inside their own jails.
What do you want to do about it? Yun dun sa bilibid mo.
For me, but they're already convicted, then I think ano na sila, dapat they're eligible for death penalty already.
Now let's go to the Senate. The heated race to the Senate presidency. You earlier said that you will be supporting Senator Alan Peter Cayetano, Duterte's running mate, but at the same time, Senator Tito Soto, your party mate in the Nationalist People's Coalition, is also eyeing the Senate presidency.
Right. Well, and like you said earlier, no, Camille, and you know this, NPC has a working relationship with PDP, Laban, and the administration. With that, we would like to support a Senate president who's also part of the ruling coalition, or at least part of the administration. I think with that, NPC would want to support and cooperate, no, with the administration. So right now, there are many personalities that are coming out. It's very difficult to say, to be honest, Camille, sino yung magiging Senate President. But right now, I think the bottom line is, for us, NPC, we would like to cooperate and support the new administration. And whoever is the anointed one, I think we will support them.
But have you already talked to Senator Soto?
Yes, we do. And if Senator Soto is the anointed one, then pwede rin, di ba? So, anything can happen.
By anointed one, you mean the chosen one of President-elect Duterte?
The President-elect Duterte, yes. Yes.
So, if Soto decides to continue the race, the run for the Senate President, and also Alan Peter Cayetano.
Well, Camille, I think it's hard to say with certainty what will happen. I think that will be discussed among parties and among personalities.
We have 4 so-called candidates now: incumbent Senate President Franklin Drilon, Soto, Cayetano, and also PDP Laban President Aquilino Coco Pimentel.
Coco Pimentel,
Yeah.
yes.
And this is also an ally of Duterte.
Yes.
Has anybody of them talked to you?
Alan is a personal friend. Of course, Senator Soto is a party mate. I know Senator Pimentel. But I think right now we're in the process of talking. We're in the process of trying to put things together. It's hard to really say who will be the Senate President as of this point. I think it's still very fluid. Things will change, and for me, I'm just waiting for all of these personalities will come together and agree on something.
So, may kumausap ba sa inyo from the 4?
All of us are talking. Hindi naman kami. There's no limitation naman to talk. We've been talking about the new administration. We've been talking about what legislation to support, but there's no definitive conclusion yet.
Did you give any commitment to any one of them?
Right now, I'm committed to NPC. I'm committed to NPCs, and I've been talking to the NPC leadership, including Senator Soto. Senator Soto is part of the leadership. So, we've been talking about our what is the best for the country, of course, and how the party can support the new administration.
What Senate committees are you interested in?
I've signified my intention to be part of the Education Committee, and I told them that it was my core advocacy during the campaign, and it's something very personal to me because that's been my advocacy in Valenzuela.
So who among the Senate President candidates is more amenable to your chosen
Halos
committee?
lahat naman because they've seen my campaign and they've seen what we have done in Valenzuela. So halos lahat acknowledge that we have the experience and the track record to lead this committee. So it's just a matter, I guess, of finalizing finalizing the, the the agreements.
If not education, what committee?
Right now, Camille, I would like to be involved in something that I am good at, which is local government, finance, and also business. These are the things that I've been involved in the past few years. So those are the things naman that I'm comfortable with. So sana ano rin, sana to be I want to be involved in those sectors.
Aside from sa education, you said that you will plan to scrap tuition fees in state universities and colleges. What else do you plan to do to change?
Okay. We plan to also launch a HUC. We call it Higher Education Modernization Fund. It's a fund that will modernize our higher education institutions in the next 5 years. We have a formula that we created, and we're now in the middle of finalizing that budget. But what we want is, in the next 5 years, all of these higher education institutions will be modernized, be very competitive, and we will have campuses that can rival campuses abroad.
What do you plan to do? With other schools that are not yet ready for K to 12, and we're already implementing it.
Right. Well, right now, from the information we got from the ground, a lot of actually all municipalities and cities are somehow K to 12 ready. Of course, some are very equipped, some are still equipped themselves, but that's where we come in. We have to make sure that government funds being used wisely and efficiently for the K to 12. Maganda dito, there's funds. Congress allocated close to 100 billion for K to 12, and we have to make sure that those 100 billion pesos are used for K to 12 efficiently.
What do you plan to do with the teachers who will be unemployed because of the implementation of the K to 12?
Right. There are several options, for the teachers and professors. They can do continuous studies. They can take up their masters. They can take up their PhDs. The government will provide scholarship grants for them. Some of them has the option of teaching in K to 12. So there are several options, whether they can move to K to 12 program and be part of the K to 12 teaching force, or the other one is go to take their masters and go continue their education.
Is there already a process in place for these teachers?
Yes. I think during Congress, during the last Congress, we talked about the transition fund, and the transition fund is a fund that will be used for displaced teachers and professors. And we made sure in Congress that there will be funds allocated for displaced teachers.
What are your expectations on your first day or first month in the Senate?
Right now, Camille, I'm in the process of building my team. Of course, in Congress, we're only allowed to get about 5 or 6 people. In fact, I only have 4 people in Congress. But in the Senate, since it's nationwide and it's a bigger institution, we're allowed to get 40 people. And we're now in the process of filling up the necessary manpower that I will need in the Senate. We will need a very good legislative team. I'm also forming a very good policy team that will complement our researchers in the office. I'm a very research-driven person, and before crafting legislation, I want to make sure that there's a need for that legislation, and there's numbers and research to back up that need. It's easy to create legislation, but you have to make sure that the legislation impacts the country and impacts what it needs to be impacted.
What will be the first bill that Senator Gatchalian will file in the Senate?
I identified close to about 50 bills. Some of them are the bills
From
I
the-
filed in Congress.
Okay.
I think I filed over 70 bills in Congress. Primarily, I'm the primary author. No? I think a few of them became laws, but the other ones who didn't reach or didn't become laws, I will refile it in the Senate.
What exactly is this bill?
A lot of them are education related. No? The Free Higher Education Act, that one. In terms
This is the one that's passed already, right?
No, not yet. Not
Oh.
yet.
What's
This one
the-
is to eliminate the one I mentioned, no? Eliminate tuition fee in state universities and colleges. The other one is the modernization of state universities. We call it Higher Education Institution Modernization Fund. And the other ones related to teacher welfare, no? Teacher training. We also filed a bill related to feeding programs, no? Because in Valenzuela we have a very successful feeding program there that we want to nationalize it.
How do you plan to push for it? Because as we all know, filing a bill is just the first step.
Step.
And it takes a while for the bill to be actually signed by
It
the
takes a while
president.
talaga. It takes a while to become a law, no? And that's why filing a bill is the first step. But I think the most important step is rationalizing why those bills are important for the country and who will be the beneficiaries and what will be the impact. That demands a lot of research. Of course, shepherding a bill is another issue. Takes a lot of time to shepherd the bill to become a law, and that will be part of our job.
I just want to go back to your role in the Poe campaign. You joined the campaign of Senator Grace Poe,
Yes.
but we all know that she didn't win. What do you think went wrong with her campaign?
Actually, this election, Camille, is very interesting. There are three very significant occurrences, in this campaign. Number one, that buzzword of anti-establishment. I think we're seeing it in the U.S. Right now with Donald Trump, and I think we saw that here in the Philippines. President Digong and in this case Vice President Lenny is really a different mold of politicians, no? And a lot of people view them as anti-establishment. They're not part of the system, and I think the election of President Digong is really a signal that people are willing to try a different mode of leader. Of course, medyo extreme siya, no? In some cases, but really he's out of the usual political personalities. The second is the jump from local to national, and this is also connected to the anti-establishment buzzword. No? I think right now the normal process from a local candidates is from local to Senate and to presidency. But now you've seen President Digong jump from mayor to president, Lenny from congressman to vice president, and I think that opened a lot of doors for local candidate. Meaning, basta you do well, you perform well in your own locality, and you have you have the heart to serve the public, you can actually run for national. Hindi mo na kailangan dumaan pa
Normal process.
sa normal process of sa normal Senate and then going up. I think this is very important phenomenon. Dati, this is unthinkable. Before this election, parang it's almost impossible. The third one, actually, this is a very interesting, Camila, the winning of Geraldine Roman, in Bataan. I think this is an interesting phenomenon also in our country because gender doesn't play an important role anymore. It's what you can do for your locality and what you have done for your locality. And this is very interesting because sa atin, hindi na natin tinitingnan kung transgender ka. Ano ba yung magagawa mo para sa ating bansa? Yun ang pinakamahalaga ngayon.
And you're saying Senator Grace Poe was not able to fully tap?
I think in Senator Grace Poe, it's hard to pinpoint really. No, I think in a campaign sometimes, Camille, what I learned, it's hard to pinpoint what was your success formula and what was your not successful formula. it's really a matter of many things moving at the same time. So it's hard to pinpoint what went wrong with Senator Grace Poe. But I think maybe we can focus on what went right with President Digong. And I think President Digong has managed to really tap on that anti-establishment sentiment of the Filipino.
So what's next now for the Nationalist People's Coalition? You could have been the next biggest party had Poe won,
Right.
but now it's PDP Laban.
So kami naman, we want to move forward. We want to support the new administration. That's why we signed up this working partnership with PDP Laban and the new administration. We want to make sure that their legislative measures are pushed in Congress and hopefully in the Senate. I think this time around, Camille, we have to work together. We have to be united in all fronts, executive, legislative, and also in the judiciary. Because at the end of the day, it's the people that will benefit from that unity. And that's the principle of NPC, to unite and to support the new administration. At least this time, because the new administration wants a lot of reforms. And those reforms needs a lot of support and unity.
Do you think you will lose members? They will jump ship to PDP
No,
Laban
I
and
think
leave?
that's the beauty with our party. Whoever's the president, NPC remains the second biggest party in the country because the members stay put. Whoever's the president, they stay put. And our philosophy really is to build coalitions when necessary. And that's why right now, instead of just doing nothing and wait for the members to jump ship, let's build a coalition and support the new administration.
What do you think of allegations that this is a politics of convenience because for parties to shift allegiance to the powerful politicians or to the winning president? What do you think of that?
Hindi naman shifting allegiance. This is a working relationship. That's why in our signing of I think memorandum of agreement with PDP, it was stressed there that it's a working partnership, it's a working relationship. We might not agree on many things, but definitely we will cooperate and support many things that will bring good changes to the country.
Any last thoughts, Senator?
Well, Camille, thank you very much, and for this invitation. I think the past election has been very interesting for all of us. In fact, I was trying to contact some friends of mine to write about this election because it's a good learning process for all of us. I think we've seen many changes. We've seen a lot of surprises in this last election. I think this should be documented and studied. Ang feeling ko, the electorate is maturing. They might not be maturing as fast as we want to, but definitely they're maturing. And that's good for us. But we have to study it carefully. I think all of us will benefit if someone will put together and document what happened and transpired in the last election.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Senator.
Thank you.
We've been talking with newly elected Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, his thoughts on politics, the Duterte presidency, and his plans in the Senate. That's it for Rappler Talk. I'm Camille Alamia. Watch the full interview on Rappler.